Tale of Tarhun, Part 1, a prologue. Let me tell you a story. It's a story of naivety and character growth, of heroism, and mostly just a lot of goofy, stupid antics. This is the Tale of Tarhun. It's a D&D story. So, here's some background info before we actually start proper. This part is totally optional and it has almost no impact on the universe that Tarhun resides in, but this was my first game of actual D&D, so the details are special to me. I was a bit younger at the time. It was around sophomore year of high school, if I recall right. I had these huge starry eyes for D&D to the point that I ran a fake, pretty shabby version of it, despite having no real knowledge on the mechanics of actual D&D. My DMing and player skills got better as I as a person got better, and none of this is relevant, not to Tarhun anyway. But it's important to note that at this time I was willing to learn D&D, despite being totally fresh to it. So one day, on a trip to the zoo with my aunt, I was quite bored, so I struck up a conversation about my interest in D&D. And some amount of weeks later, she brought me to this board game amusement shop thing that served food sometimes so that we could play D&D there. Well, when she first asked me if I wanted to go, the day of, mind you, I was nervous. I turned it down at first, but last minute, for a reason I can't really place even now, I decided, what the heck, let's do it. I'm super glad I changed my mind last minute. So, let's talk about the players and their characters. Maybe the setting too, at least the basic stuff, if we do that. Keep in mind that during all this, I was a total noob to D&D. I didn't read the book at all at first, but I got into it. So, first up is P, for short. His character's name is Krusk. He was a half-orc fighter. Good man. Big heart. Both Krusk and P share that big heart, and their voices fit one another perfectly. P has this funny, big, booming voice that he does every time he laughs. It's amusing and warming. There's C. Her character's named Varys. He's a half-elf rogue. C quickly becomes the tactician of the group. She puts a ton of thought into the things we do mid-game. She takes notes. She's new to playing D&D too, but she does it pretty well. But anyway, the main thing about C is that she keeps really good notes. So good that by the time that we get to the next campaign, no one else is taking notes, and when she's gone for a week, everyone collectively suffers. Next is M. He plays a tiefling cleric, whose name escapes me, even still, so I'm just going to call him Cleric for the duration of this recording. M is helpful when making my character with me, and he brings snacks all the time. He plays a great cleric, a good support, but he's not that strong with RP, beyond being a cleric. Having so many other big characters with immense stage presence didn't give him a fair enough chance either, to be fair. There's J. He plays a drunkard human monk who is secretly the main character the whole time. This monk's name is Wallace. Wallace is chaotic neutral, and as such, he's my go-to, reference anyway, for chaotic neutral characters. Jay is a very charismatic guy. He's funny, he plays Wallace real well, and he's by far a big, hefty presence to have in any party. My aunt, B, plays a halfling named Coronet. She's a fighter too, but a different subclass than Krusk. My aunt is in my ride to and from there, and she's very nervous at first, but she gets comfy with the group and gets real happy with it, has a good time. There's the DM, whose name also shortens to C, so to avoid confusion, I'm just gonna call him DM the whole time. DM's a theater teacher. He's super into his setting, gets real into it each time. He's had a fair few years building it up, and between him and Jay, there's a lot of funny references that I never got at the time. I was still a young teenager, of course. So we have our grievances with the DM in later iterations of campaigns, but this first one was by far the smoothest and most fond one. And finally, there's me, the person narrating this to you. I played Tarhun. You'll be hearing most of his info later on as we get deeper into this, but something to note, I suppose, is that he's a dragonborn sorcerer. He's a black dragonborn sorcerer. Makes him resistant to acid. He's of the draconic bloodline variety. I got help making him from P&M, and it shows in some parts that he's a first-timer character, because, like, who in their right mind takes Blade Ward of all spells?